everyone, it's Pastor Roger Cook with YourChurchMCC. Just wanted to bring you just a short, brief, and hopefully encouraging message to you today as we continue in the world of COVID with everything in the world that's going on. Just wanted to take a moment to kind of address something that you may be experiencing. I know, things I've experienced and some people I talk to are experiencing, and that's kind of when you look at the world around you, you kind of wonder, well, why is my life in the shape that it is? And you see someone else's life, and you wonder, like, well, why are they not going through this, especially now? You may have your kids back in school, online, hybrid, or something like that there, and it's a wreck when someone else you know is having this a great experience. I know my family and I had family pictures this past weekend, and taking a 2-year-old out who has been cooped up for 6 months due to COVID, and his first time out for family pictures was an incredible experience, to say the least. And we kind of have to wonder, why does it seem like everybody else's family pictures are so beautiful, and we was experiencing this crazy experience? And it got me to thinking, when we look at the picture, when we look at the snapshot, we're only looking at what's on the surface. We don't know about what's going on behind the scenes. And I read a book recently by Rob Bell, and the book was called How to Be Here. And something in it and its experience with family pictures kind of just brought something together I wanted to share with you. He says, in the book, something very important, once you remember this, is who you aren't is not interesting. Think about that. Who you aren't is not interesting. We're so concerned and overwhelmed and preoccupied with things we don't have, things we can't do, things in our lives, relationships, finances, that we wish we were different. But who we aren't really isn't that interesting. And something else to think about too is who they are is also not that interesting. And who's they? I think you know who they are. These people that we constantly find ourselves these comparison traps with. They are not that interesting. And the truth is, when we focus on who we aren't and what we don't have, we're wasting precious energy that we could be using for what we do have and are called to do. And this is a simple and profound thing I don't want you to forget about. They are not that interesting. And there's a great story in the Bible, John chapter 21, it's like verse 15 to 21. I encourage you to go and read that, look at that. And Jesus here reconciles with Peter. Peter who said, "I'll never leave you, Jesus." He was a terrible sword. He was a fisherman, not a swordsman. He went to cut someone's head and cut off an ear, and Jesus had to fix the ear. And Peter told Jesus, "I'll never leave you." And just like Peter told him he would, he did. He denied him 3 times, cussed out a 12-year-old girl after promising Jesus that he would never leave him. And it devastated Peter. This thought of what Peter lost, who he no longer was, the same things who he wasn't, and it devastated him so much that the Bible says he went back to fishing, which could literally mean that he gave up the ministry, gave up the church. That Jesus says, "Upon this rock I'll build my church, Peter, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it, the gates of Hades." And Peter left it all, went fishing. So of course, him being the leader, several disciples left it all and went fishing with him. So then we have this beautiful portrait in John 21 of Jesus going and forgiving Peter 3 times, and for the 3 times he denied him. And this wonderful, beautiful moment that Jesus reconciled Peter. Peter was forgiven. All should have been right with the world. You could hear the music playing, and Peter looks into Jesus' eyes and says, "Well, what about him?" Pointing to John. Even at that moment, you got to ask yourself, Peter didn't get it. He was so consumed by who he wasn't and what he didn't have. But remember, who you aren't is not that interesting, because the divine has something so much more useful, powerful, and something to give you energy, something to give you life, something to give you joy in what you are. I hope you can find some peace and joy in that this week. Hope you have a great rest of your week. I know it's a crazy world we're in, and this is probably finding you some crazy times. But you don't consume yourselves by looking at what's going on in someone's outside without wondering what's going on in their inside. And just think on these things, contemplate on these things, meditate on these things. And remember, you are valuable, you are special. The divine has a purpose just for you. Embrace it, grab it, and live it out. Thank you. Hope you have a great rest of your week.